So one of the national media companies that cover the NBA had held a favorable coaching poll for the players, in which Tom Thibodeau, it seems like in the back-to-back years that they actually hosted this poll, had finished number 1 for being the least favorable coach to play for, and actually by a landslide. And once again, I'm always emphasizing, my fellow Knicks fans, through the Knicks' success, they will have no allies in the media, as this poll was hosted in 2019 and for the end of last season. But right now, as a team sits in the top 4 seeding in the Eastern Conference headed towards the playoffs, now they gotta tap into parts of the negative algorithm online when it comes to the Knicks coverage and bring up the results of this poll. But this shows you the state of the league's culture. You could look at the way the past All-Star game was treated, the way players were nonchalant about it. You got even the young players that have only made a few All-Star appearances brag about how they're not taking the whole event serious, and even going far as to talking about they're just going to shoot with their offhand for a portion of the game. But certain parts of the league culture have been dialed back a bit. We see with the 65 game rule where they're trying to prevent guys from resting, and we even see NBA vets like Damian Lillard make complaints about young players coming into the league already asking for their load management days. So the kinds of players that are answering polls like this, their validity and heart is really being questioned. And Tom Thibodeau, throughout the years, there's always been a conspiracy theory about him as far as how many minutes he's letting guys play, always running guys into the ground. He's almost become the NBA's version of the UFO conspiracy theory. But a lot of it is really fluff. Everywhere Tibbs has gone has had success. When it comes to minutes, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle for the past 2 seasons only averaged 35 minutes a game. Now, them being in their late 20s, when you compare that to LeBron James, for the completed 2022 and 2023 seasons, where he averaged 37 minutes a game and 35 minutes a game. And currently, as we're in the 2024 season, he's averaging the same 35 minutes a game. But yet there's no complaints about the Lakers coach running him into the ground. Like I said, when it comes to Tibbs, he's become a conspiracy theory, like the NBA's Bigfoot. Don't play for him, he's gonna get you. But at the end of the day, everywhere he's gone, they've experienced success. We've seen D Rose become the youngest MVP. Guys like Joakim Noah, who doesn't have crazy athleticism or a unique skill. Tibbs got him on the first All-NBA team in 2014, and also a 2-time All-Star and the Defensive Player of the Year. And with a rich historical franchise like the Chicago Bulls, they mainly had their playoff success with him around. As we've seen in the last 8 years, they've only made the playoffs twice. And prior to him showing up and just giving them a good 5-year stretch of team success, the Bulls really haven't seen that type of longevity as far as being relevant since Michael Jordan. Once again, everywhere he's gone, they've seen success. He went out to Minnesota, and in their second year, they made the playoffs, which was their first time in 14 seasons. And after his firing, very similar to the Chicago Bulls, the Minnesota Timberwolves missed the playoffs for the next 3 seasons. So once Thibodeau leaves, there's a historical track record that same franchise don't really experience as much success. And in Minnesota, we all know why he left. Towns and Wiggins recently re-signed, and they pretty much did so expecting Tibbs not to be there. Those guys are not necessarily the competitive superstars that most NBA fans would love their franchise to have. But Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins are the player archetypes that most likely voted for Tibbs to be one of the least favorable coaches to play for. But any player that New York City loves and respects for the hustle, the grit, the grind, the tenacity, guys like Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady. These were all guys coached under Tibbs, whether he was an assistant or head coach, but none of them had nothing bad to say about him. A lot of the negativity from Tibbs comes from the load management types, and it's about time they put some respect on his name, as he is a championship coach. He does have the resume and the pedigree from being an assistant on the Knicks throughout the mid-90s to early 2000s, during the Jeff Van Gundy years, to being an assistant coach in Houston with Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, and having those championship expectations before those guys got injured, all the way to being an assistant coach in the Boston Celtics in 2008 when they won the championship. So with a little bit of luck when it comes to injuries, he could be in the right position, as it didn't play out well in Chicago with Derrick Rose going down, but that team was destined for deep playoff pushes year in, year out. So again, Tibbs does have the right pedigree, and they got to put some respect on his name. Hell, they should have at least released the names of the players that voted. The results may not have been as impactful then, but we'll see.